Good morning and welcome to our TV news today. In this episode, I want to introduce you about an island famous for its mist and especially its giant stone statue. The island I want to mention today is Easter Island. The island has another name is Rapa Nui, a Chilean dependency in the eastern Pacific Ocean. Easter Island was a prosperous one until island encounter with its tragedy. So, why I want to share about a remote island, which is Ecuador. Well, William Wordsworth said that life is divided in three terms: that which was, which is, and which will be. Let us learn from the past and profit by the present, and from the present to live better in the future. And now in modern world, we are facing the same problem with the Easter Island. So what are they? Let's discover. The collapse of Easter Island civilization can be described by a socio-economic phenomenon known as tragedy for the commons, which means that how shared environmental resources are overused and eventually deplete. This same failure model applies to the carbon culture of today and the global climate change crisis. Moreover, the Easter Island residents cut down trees, strip the soil of nutrients, and hunt animal species to extinction. Today, we are process the earth for carbon-rich fossil fuels and spill their gases by produce into the atmosphere to grow the gross domestic product and increase your standard of living without any real consideration for the impact on the climate. The consensus is overwhelming. It's time to slam on the brakes of this freight train. It's time to right the ship. Thanks to Easter Island, we have had a closer look inside into human behavior and self-interest. We consider our impact on the environment and we could do to save our planet. Thanks for listening, and in the next part, my college will share with you the interesting about Easter Island.
Easter Island statues, mystery behind their location revealed. The Houston figures for Easter Island have beguiled explorers, researchers, and the wider world for centuries, but now experts say that they have cracked one of the biggest mysteries why the statues are where they are. Researchers analyze the location of the megalithic platforms, or ahiu, and scrutinize the size of the island's resources, and have discovered the structures are typically found close to the sources of the freshwater. These findings support the idea that aspects of the construction of the platforms and statues, such as their size, could be tied to the abundance of and quality of such supplies. What is important about it is that it demonstrates the statue location themselves are not weird ritual places, but they are integrated into the lives of community, said the Prof. Kat Lipo, who was co-author of the research. Easter Island, or Rapa Nui, has more than 300 megalithic platforms, each of which have been made by a separate community. The first of these are believed to have been constructed in the 13th century and mainly are found around the coast. Researchers looked at whether the ahiu was found near the other important resources: gardens spread with stones in which crops like sweet potato was grown, sites linked with fishing, and sources of fresh water. The island has no permanent streams, and there is no evidence that residents relied on the island's lakes. However, fresh water passes through the ground into aquifers, seeping into caves as well as emerging around the coast. says Lipo. We noticed this actually when we was doing a survey on the island, that we would see the horses drinking from the ocean. Historical records reveal islanders drank this rather brackish water, while studies suggested that they also made wells to capture drinking water. The results of the research published in the journal Flow 1 reveal proximity to the freshwater sites is the best explanation for the ideal locations, and explains why they crop up inland as well as on the coast.
Thank you, Thuy. Let's continue. According to excavations of Easter Island, there are three cultural phases. The early period from 700 to 850 AD, the middle period from 1050 to 1680, and the late period from post 1680. Between the early and middle periods, evidence has shown that many early statues were destroyed on purpose, and then they were rebuilt for larger and heavier moi, for which the island is famous for. During the middle periods, ceremonial stone platforms also contained burial chambers. The late periods of the island's civilizations were characterized by civil wars and general destruction. Island's tradition claims that around 1680, after peacefully coexisting for many years, one of the island's two main groups, known as the Short Ears, has rebelled against the Long Ears, burning many of them to death on the island's far northeastern coast. Easter Island was formed by a series of volcanic eruptions. In addition to its hilly terrain, the island contains many subterranean caves. The island's largest volcano is known as Reno Cao, and its highest point is the Mount Teravaca, which reaches 1,665 feet above the sea level. It has the subtropical climate, sunny and dry, and temperate weather. Easter Island boasts no natural harbor, but ships can anchor off Hangar Row on the west coast, the island's largest village, with a population of roughly 3,300. In 1995, UNESCO named Easter Island a World Heritage Site. It is now home to a mixed population, mostly of Polynesian ancestry, and made up of descendants of the Long Ears and Short Ears. Spanish is generally spoken, and the island has developed an economic largely based on tourism. And now, Chang will continue with this topic.
And the question is, why did the population on Easter Island shrink after the Europeans arrived in the 18th century, from several tens of thousands to a diminutive 1,500 to 3,000? The most common answer, popularized by Diamond, was that the Rapa Nui had greedily used up all these islands' resources. They ate all the fruit, cut down all the trees, and were left to squabble over the remaining scraps. With no more trees left, they couldn't build boats to leave this island and look for more food, so they fell into war and cannibalism, leaving only a few thousand people left to greet the Europeans. It's a perfect parable for our age of environmental collapse and resource depletion. Unfortunately, like a lot of parables, it isn't very historically accurate. The truth is because of disease that is introduced by Europeans after contact. smallpox, and plagues ripped through the Easter Island, halving the population in a short time. This crash, whose results were observed by Europeans, strengthened the myth that the Rapa Nui were already in decline from a much larger population that had existed 1,000 years before. And we can see that Easter Island is a great case of this kind of sociality in which populations seem to have mediated competition over limited resources through the community building of statues. What looks like strange behavior to us is likely central to their success. This is an area we are following up on in ongoing research. I think we have a lot to learn from Easter Island as to what it takes to survive on an isolated and remote island with limited resources. But rather than being a scary parable about the effects of cultural hubris and ultimate collapse, we can learn valuable insights into strategies that lead to cooperation and resilience and sustainability.